We are live now. So I will give it a few minutes before we start.
We're early, so it's okay.
Yeah, we're early, so it's okay. We just wait a minute. In the meantime, let's see who is joining us. There is Julia from Botswana, Gaborone. Welcome. Thank you for joining.
So exciting to see the comments.
Yeah, it is. It is exciting. Okay, it's 8:31. I think we can start now. But before we do that, can you please confirm if you can see both of us? Can you see us and can you hear us? Are we audible and are we visible?
Yes.
It would be good to get a confirmation from you if you can see us and if you can hear us before we get started, so that we know that our audio is okay and also we are visible to you. Maybe we
So
are
you have
just
a great
talking.
microphone. You have a
Maybe
great microphone.
maybe we are just talking to ourselves and they cannot hear us or they cannot see us.
Yes, but Julia has responded now. So
Oh, yeah, Julia has responded. Julia said she can see us. Okay, thank you. I believe more people will join. Okay, there's another confirmation. You are very much audible and visible. All right, thank you for the confirmation. I guess we can get started with the session. If you have been wondering about, or if you've been thinking about doing a PhD or master's in Sweden, but not sure about the application process or not sure about the visa application process, not sure about funding that is available, or not sure about career opportunities after you complete your studies, you are in the right place. This is the right session for you. We have a very special guest. It's someone I've been following closely on LinkedIn. I love her content because she shares a lot of valuable information about PhD opportunities, studying in Sweden, as well as postdoc opportunities, and also about career opportunities in Sweden. I think that is what drew me to her content and to her profile. I followed her for quite some time.
yeah.
And then I think also because our content is in alignment, we kind of share the same content. She focuses on Sweden, I focuses on scholarships abroad, but I think essentially we do share the same content. So I thought she was the right person to bring to this platform so that she can share with you inside information, because she is in Sweden. She has been in Sweden for the past 10 years. So
Yeah.
she has inside information, she has insights about the information that you need about applying for a master's or a PhD program. So I'm excited to have her here, and I hope that you will get the information that you are looking for. Please be interactive, comment,
Yes.
ask questions because as much as I'm here to learn from her, I also would like for you to get as much information as you can from her because this is a rare opportunity. At first, I was afraid to reach out to her because I was not sure. You know, on social media, you are never sure whether the person will say yes or no. But I ended up reaching out to her and she agreed to do this session. So please do not disappoint me.
I will not. I'll do my
No,
best.
not you, not you. Sorry, Juanita, not you. I mean my people, my
Yeah.
audience. We have a special guest. Please do not disappoint me. Be interactive, ask questions. This is your moment to ask questions. You don't want to miss this opportunity and then you start asking questions after the session has ended. This is the right person to ask questions about studying in Sweden. So her name is Juanita.
Yes.
I will let her to introduce herself. She will introduce herself, and she also has a presentation. So we'll share the presentation on the screen. Once you can see the presentation, please confirm and let us know. Okay. Over
Yes.
to you, Juanita.
Thank you. And I have to say, we have been following each other for a very long time. I think it has been
Yeah,
a
yeah,
couple of years, and
yeah.
I know like we work in similar areas, supporting sort of students finding their way. I think is mostly about the where to find information, and sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not easy, and sometimes you just don't know where to start. I focus mostly on PhD and postdoc, so post master's degree. Although I will show a bit that I did the whole process. So I moved from Colombia for my master's, then I did my PhD. Now I'm not working in research anymore, but I my passion has always been funding and helping early career researchers find information. And let's say now Sweden is my specialty because I live here, but also because I really really like it.
Okay.
So yes, my name is Juanita. I come from Colombia, and as Boca also said, I have been living in Sweden now. On the 4th of August, I will feel 10 years here.
Yeah.
Almost
Yeah, almost.
in a
That's a
week.
decade now.
Yes, a decade indeed. So please feel free to ask questions at any point. I'm very happy to guide through. I will give you like an overview. I cannot really go very deep, so we don't make a really huge presentation, but you're always welcome to reach out. Um, yes, okay, so I will, let me see, present, then share screen. Okay.
Welcome, Angela. Hi to you too.
Here. Okay. Yes. So
Okay.
I titled the presentation "Research in Sweden" because that will be sort of the main focus. But I will also give an overview of masters and the most important part about the applications and possible scholarships. So we can start now. I want to say a bit why I do what I do and why I ended up publishing in LinkedIn is because I'm very, very passionate about, as I said, about funding. It has always been an interest of mine, even before I moved to Sweden. Probably since I was a teenager, it has been a very passion of mine, just knowing where to find funding and share information about it. But I also work a lot on research mobility and collaboration. That means collaboration between universities, between researchers, between countries, between disciplines, between areas of, for example, with industry and with state organizations. I have a PhD in humanities in modern languages and literature, so my background is humanist. I'm also very passionate about interdisciplinary research, funding strategy, and accessibility to information, and then early career researchers support. So those are sort of my main areas of passion, but also of work. And here I will share also a bit of my timeline. So you can see that it took a very long time to come to Sweden, even before I started applying or knowing anything about Sweden. In my during my bachelor's, I polished that a very long time ago, but I got some help from someone that worked at the international office. And in Colombia, we don't have a lot of, or it's not as popular as an academic destination, Sweden or Scandinavia in general. So, like Germany or France, that do a lot of, let's say, recruitment in Latin America. So we tried in Finland, we tried in Norway, we tried by messaging directly, by calling, by things like that, but it never worked out. That's around 2011, 2013. Then there was a lucky situation that there was a Nordic university tour in Colombia that they were recruiting students for master's degree in Colombia and Peru. So because of my mom that worked at university, I got to know this Nordic tour and I got to meet a professor. So that's when things actually started happening. So between 2011 and 2015, that was already like 4 years of trying and searching opportunities, but nothing happened until then. Then I met a professor there. There was an application in October 2015, that same year. Admission results came in March 2016, so that's already almost 5 years. Visa tuition in April, May 2016. Then the program started in August 2016. So between the start of my search in 2011 and 2016, that was already, 5 years. That's a lot of time. So I want you to understand that it is not, there's no easy pathway, there's no faster, or it's just making a strategy, planning, what do you want to do, and really thinking how this aligns with your values and what you want to do with your life, be it academic or outside, or opportunities in general. So you can see that then I did, my master started in August 2016. Then, of course, I had to do visa renewal applications for jobs and PhD before my master's graduation in June 2018. I was lucky that I got a PhD position before my visa ran out. So I started my PhD in September 2018. Then the PhD, it lasted 4 years. So in September, November 2022, when I knew my visa was going to run out as well and I needed something, then I started job and funding applications. Then I got my first job at university in January 2023. My defense was in March 2023. I took let's say a short sabbatical after my PhD because it was very exhausting. And then I found that while I was in that, in March 2024. And since 2024, I have been working at university. So now what I do is that I work at the international office and I lead a university alliance between Swedish and Japanese universities. So that's what I do now. It has to do with research. I don't do it anymore, but I coordinate the project and have to do a lot with funding and early career support.
Just a question here. Which university are you currently at? Are you currently working at?
Yes, I work at Umeå University, which is in the north of Sweden. It's around 600 kilometers north of Stockholm. But when I arrived... Yes?
Sorry, how do you pronounce it?
Umeå is U-M-E-A.
U-M-E-A?
Yes, Umeå University.
Umeå University. Okay. We have Dean from Botswana. We have a lot of people from Botswana.
Okay, nice. And when I arrived to Sweden, it was the Stockholm University. So in Stockholm, that was my first city where I moved to.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so I made sort of a brief agenda what we were going to go through the presentation. So why Sweden? Planning for the future, master studies in Sweden, master funding and key dates, the Swedish PhD journey, what makes a Swedish PhD different, research funding in Sweden, career opportunities after graduation, final takeaways, and then Q&A. But again, you can stop me at any point to ask any questions so we don't miss on the opportunity to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
So why Sweden? So there are many things that make Sweden attractive. Let's say there's high quality education and research. Is a relatively small country. It has 10, 11 million in total. So they're not really big cities. And there's not a lot of universities comparatively to other countries such as Germany or the Netherlands or France, just so you know. So there's very few, and there's, let's say, some that are very high ranked, but some that are, let's say, ranked in specific areas themselves. So it's good to branch out when you're looking for opportunities here in Sweden. There's an international environment. This is mostly, let's say, in big cities, I would say. There is, of course, a lot of student mobility within Europe. And there's a lot of English speaking people. So it's because that's why it's also considered an international environment. That's in general Scandinavia. It's easy to get by with English.
Okay.
There's a strong work-life balance. They really like to promote it even during your PhD or even during your master studies, that you have hobbies, that you have a life outside what you're doing specifically. Innovation and entrepreneurship, they have been called the most innovative, one of the most innovative countries because of new companies being built and the service industry that they have. Then they have sustainability leadership. Sweden has been leading initiatives for a very, very long time, together with Scandinavia, I would say, but Sweden has like a trademark on that. Then close collaboration between universities and industries. That really depends on the area, but they're very known as well for, let's say, a horizontal type of work, that they really like to collaborate between industries in sort of spaces of work. Yeah. Yes, planning for the future. And this I really want to make super clear. For my presentation and in general, I would say even extended for if you're going to another country, if you're planning to do studies or move abroad, start with your goals, not with the opportunities. And I think many people think about scholarships before finding what fits better for their profile, wonder what they really want to do for their future. So what career do you want? Do I want research, industry, entrepreneurship, or public service? Which university is strongest in my field? Which country fits my values and lifestyle? And I think that's actually something that you really have to consider, together with point number 5, which what are the migration and career opportunities after graduation? It's undeniable that in these times it's very difficult to migrate, and being a migrant is difficult in different countries for different
Yeah.
reasons, and that will always affect the life that you have in the country. And it's good to know that some countries have more opportunities when you graduate, some cities, some universities offer more support from when you come outside Sweden, from outside the country, sorry. So all of these things have to play a role in your decision when you're planning for what you're applying for. And it helps you also strategize to decide where you want to put all sort of your energies and your efforts towards you. This also applies, of course, for the research group or the masters or the courses that you want to take. What is important for you, and what do you think is going to really give you this, be the stepping stones that will help you move forward your career? So don't disregard the important things that make your life, let's say, sustainable, livable, kind to yourself. So a country might be, let's say, if they have changed a lot of migration rules, maybe it's important to consider those, because those lay heavy always. I will say it as a person that has been living here for a very long time. During my PhD, during my master's, migration rules changing is heavy, and it really impacts the way that you can do and carry out your research, and your life in general. So consider everything that has to do with the life you want. So strategy first, and then application second. Yes. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I'm just checking if there are any questions so far. Do you have any questions on what she has shared so far before we move to the next slide? It's so quiet. I don't know. I don't know if they are still here, if they understand, or if they are still thinking. Any questions so far, guys?
Okay,
Well, it
continue.
seems like there is no question. Maybe later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So master studies in Sweden, and this one, as I explained to at the beginning, I will not dig deep so much about it because there is already a website dedicated by the government of Sweden that is called Study in Sweden. That clarifies anything that you might wonder about studying in Sweden for your masters. It says application period, it talks about the university, it has students that write about their everyday life in different cities, in different programs, in different types of masters. It has so much really, really good information that I will not do it an honor just by pronouncing it. So uh, in general, this is what you should know about master studies in Sweden. There are programs either 1 year or 2 years. And this, it's important to note that depending on the residence permit that you have, you also have possibilities after your master's. So that's also something to consider. So if you're looking into a 1 year master's, you can check if you are allowed, for example, to extend and search for work or not. How long will you, or can you stay in the country afterwards if you're looking for a job or if you're looking for a PhD? All this is tied together. So remember to always be very, very thorough with the search that you're doing. Then many programs, of course, are taught entirely in English. There is a, let's say, Sweden is very well known to focus on critical thinking and problem solving. And then there's a lot of project based and collaborative learning. So there's a lot of group work, and people really tend to appreciate this because it's less about memorizing or less about very difficult, let's say, um, multiple choice exams. Is more about thinking and proactively using what you're learning to put it into practice. So people really appreciate that type of learning, and it's the, let's say, the most spread out even during your PhDs, of course. And then some programs give you preparation for the labor market or for a PhD. This really varies between universities and programs. Some have a lot of support, some have a lot of collaboration, some others do not have anything. So that's also something to look into when you're searching for a program in Sweden.
Okay, so for master's programs, are they only taught masters or they are masters by research?
I think there's only master for taught masters. It
Mm-hmm.
really, of course, some of them you have to finish with a master thesis, but
Mm-hmm.
some of them also allow that you do a sort of an industry masters. So you solve sort of a problem for a company that is paying for you to be there, but it's mostly
Taught.
taught. Yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes.
There was a question, but it's about PhD. I think we can wait until when we talk about PhD, right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I will show the question when we talk about PhD.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are the master's funding and key dates. So I don't want to be misleading in this. There are very few scholarships. There is the most famous one, which is the Swedish Institute Scholarship. This is sort of for, in general, people who have worked in leadership and will have a big impact when they return to their home countries after the masters they do. It's quite competitive. But it's sort of like the biggest and most known scholarship that Sweden has for master studies.
Okay.
Some universities have their own scholarships. For example, when I applied for Stockholm University, it had its own, but you had to compete with everyone that had been accepted that semester, let's say that application round for all areas. So it was also very competitive and difficult to get. So there's not a lot of scholarships for masters. That is the reality. So if you are planning and if you're thinking about applying, it's good to see if, let's say, your faculty has the faculty you're applying for has perhaps some funding, or if you qualify, or if you can, let's say, create a profile that will be appealing for the Swedish Institute Scholarship, which is a very generous scholarship and a really, really good one, because it creates networks, it has a lot of support, it has a lot of opportunities while you're doing your master's to connect with other people. And you become alumni from the Swedish Institute. So it's a really well-known, let's say, and well-recognized scholarship. There's
Okay.
also a website. I will share the links for everything with the presentation. The website is also very thorough. The call is always open recurringly. Every year is the same date, so you can plan ahead. Always, at least, I would recommend at least a year in advance to know exactly everything that you need to know and how you need to prepare, or you can improve your CV, your profile, your contacts, your recommendation letters. So you build sort of your CV towards something strategic. There are some tuition waivers in some universities, but it really depends on your country, on your background, on the area of study. It really depends on something that you have to research on your own. And then there's some external funding from your home country or from other private organizations. But again, it's sometimes advertised in the faculty or in the departments or at the university, but sometimes you have to find it on your own. So there's not, unfortunately, a lot of funding for master studies. And this, the autumn intake is the one that most people from outside Europe apply for, because there's a longer period for you to apply for your visa, and now it's taking longer than it used to take. So majority of the people are only allowed to apply in this round from outside Europe. So October normally, or mid-October, is when the applications for masters open. In January is the application deadline. Then February, documentation submission deadline if you have to add documents.
A
But
document?
also,
No, I was just adding to say if you have to add a document. Okay. I was adding to what you were saying.
okay, yes, exactly. And then February to March is also the February to March is the application for the Swedish Institute Scholarship. So after you have applied for the university, then you apply for the Swedish Institute Scholarship. Then admission results for universities are in March. Then April is the Swedish Institute Scholarship results. And then August, September is when studies begin. So that's the timeline. It's really intercalated, so it helps you plan ahead. And you see it's almost a year of all the process, plus the
Okay.
year of you planning to apply for
Okay.
Sweden.
Okay. So that means, for example, if somebody wants to go to Sweden next year, they can start preparing for the October applications, because now it's July. So
Yeah.
the next intake applications will open around October. So we have August, September, October, 3 months-ish to start preparing for your application, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay.
To search for the programs, to search for the universities, and also see if Sweden is really the place that you want to be at.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Now we move to the Swedish PhD sort of career or journey. So how does it work? So PhDs, unlike master's degrees, are never published on a specific date. They open, let's say, randomly, because it depends first on the funding. So many departments have funding that comes from the government. So it's allocated directly to PhD positions, and it's a job position. So you're employed by university with all the benefits that it comes with. So let's say, at least my faculty, which was humanities, they always published in, let's say, March every 2 years. they would recruit 1 or 2 students for literature, which was my area. But you cannot rely on knowing that from this university it will apply for others. They would usually, let's say, publish in similar dates, but that is not certain. So it's difficult to tell in different areas from different universities when they're going to post that specific post. In the engineering and natural sciences, they also have other funding from the European Union or from other private funders. So they can open PhD positions at any point, literally. So it's a difficult thing to plan, but if you are interested in pursuing a PhD, it's always good to have a planned project or an idea that you want to develop in which area, right? And then you start searching for departments and faculties. And then you can contact the faculties and say, are you thinking of opening a round of applications? I think that's the most strategic way to go about it, instead of just waiting that the PhD positions will pop up, because you don't really know when that will happen. I post a lot of ideas on how to go about this randomness of the publication of the PhDs, because then you rely very much on being lucky that you saw the post in time to have enough time to, polish the project that you have, and prepare all the documentation in general. It's not very difficult, but still it requires some certificates, some letters of recommendation, and it takes time to get those. So
Yeah.
yes. Then you apply directly to the university. Since it's published, I will also again share the link. There are, let's say, websites where you can search only for state jobs, let's say, of organizations from the state. Those includes, of course, the universities. And then it has different requirements, but normally is, of course, your CV, a list of publications, a motivation letter, a project plan, and then the recommendation letters. So it's quite straightforward. Depending on your area, it requires a bit more or a bit less, but that's in general what you require to apply. And then you get the result. And if you are not in Sweden, then of course the whole process of the letter of application for the residence permit, that since it's a job, is normally the job that applies on your behalf. And then you get notifications from the migration system to tell you when you have to send your picture, go to the embassy, send documentation for it to finalize the paperwork. And then the PhD duration is 4 years. That was what you were asking, I think, in the chat, right? How long was a PhD? It's 4 years. Normally people, depending if you have to teach a lot or if you have other opportunities during your PhD, can be extended up to 5 years in general with funding. But regularly 4 years is the contract.
Okay. So you mentioned that for PhD you are hired by the university. I
Yes.
just want more clarity on that. Like,
Yes.
how does it work? Do you become a full-time staff at the university while you are also expected to do your own research?
No, you do only research. You focus only on research. So you're hired as a researcher.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe do you have to teach classes, or you just
Yes,
only
so
focus on research?
no. So the thing is that let's say PhDs are very well structured and very well organized based on the recommendations of the worker unions for PhDs. So there is some teaching. You're allowed to teach up to 20% as part of your PhD, because it's required later on if you decide on a career in academia, right? Teaching is a big part of academia.
Yeah.
And then you have your own plan for your research, the courses you're going to take. Some departments have very set courses, let's say basic one that you have to cover. Some are way more flexible, so you can decide what courses you want to take. You can take them at the department, you can take it at other departments. You can also take it in other universities in other countries. So you make a plan with your supervisor or supervisors, and decide what is best for the project that you're going to develop. Of course,
Oh,
throughout the course of your PhD, that can be changed and you can add or remove or things. But teaching, let's say you're allowed to teach up to 20% during your PhD. Some people don't have the opportunity, depending on the department, on the languages that they teach. For example, if they only teach in Swedish, then of course, if you are only in English, it's difficult. But some people get a lot more even of teaching. So that's a possibility, yeah.
okay, okay. So the courses that one takes when they're doing PhD, are they mandatory courses? Do they have examinations, or it's just like introductory courses that PhD students take? Like, do you also have to take the courses throughout your PhD, or it's only
Yes.
for the
So you
first year?
again, so it's really based on your project plan, and
Mm-hmm.
what you need to complement. So some people, for example, I did mostly, let's say, translation, and I hadn't studied translation before, so I had to take many courses on translation. But it's individual plan. It's called individual study plan, and then you work
Okay.
it with your supervisor. And again, some departments have set courses. For example, if you work in a lab, then you have a lab work one, and
Mm-hmm.
all the PhDs that enter that PhD program have to take that one. But some
Okay.
other departments don't have a mandatory course that you have to take. So you arrange with your supervisors which courses are more relevant for you. There's an amount of points that you have to complete in courses, and that also
Okay.
sometimes varies between departments and universities. But your main objective is to do your thesis. And I'm going to explain a bit more here. So
Okay. Okay.
you're employed from day one. So you are an employee of the university, and you have a visa of a worker. You don't have a student visa when you are in a PhD. Unlike your master's, that you have a student visa. Those are two different visas. You have a monthly salary. You have an annual salary progression. So it's called like a escalator. um, Salary increase. So there's set for the amount of points that you have covered in that past year, you
Mm-hmm.
increase the level during your
So
PhD.
it's like a scale. It's a
Yes,
scale. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And that everything is negotiated through the student union. So you don't have to do it. That is
Mm-hmm.
already done on your behalf. Then
Okay.
you have vacation and social benefits, and then you pay pension and parental leave. So you have all the benefits of a regular employee in Sweden. So you're
Okay.
completely covered.
Okay.
Right now, there's not that many PhDs that have scholarships because they have been really, really regulated, precisely because a scholarship doesn't give you all the benefits that an employee has. So normally, you're not offered scholarships for PhDs anymore. For postdocs, yes, but not for PhDs. Majority are employments. It has more benefits. Okay. Then you have a structured development. So you have this individual study plan, as we talked about. There's annual evaluations. So, for example, the evaluation in general is that you present the advancements of your thesis. So you're always working on your thesis throughout it. You don't wait until the last semester to write the thesis. You're working on it every year, and you have to present it to an opponent. So you're always sort of practicing the defense. So when you arrive to the final defense, you have already presented your thesis several times, at least 3 times before that, and you
Ooh.
always get feedback. So
Okay.
there's a quarter seminar, halftime seminar, 3/4 seminar, and then the final defense.
So it's like a the thesis is progressive.
Yes, it is progressive. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So it's different from it's let's say in my experience that was very helpful because I also got to review a lot and got a lot of feedback from different perspectives of people who were reading my thesis and got to edit a lot. But also because you get used to now being let's say in a situation where someone is asking you questions about your thesis. So it's a really good exercise that you do annually almost more than
There's
just
a
this.
oh, sorry for the interruption. There's a question. related to masters.
Okay.
The fee structure for masters in computer science or AI.
The fee structures? I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But that's very specific for masters in computer. No, you would have to look at the universities and the like if it's tuition fee and you want to understand how much it costs, that's every university has a different structure. If
Okay.
that's the question. I cannot, yeah, that's very way too specific. Yeah. Okay. Then, as we talked about in the masters, there's this seminar culture. So you present your work regularly, you receive feedback from peers and researchers. This also depends on the area. There are areas that have a lot of, let's say, reading sessions for articles. They collaborate quite a lot on writing. In humanities, it's not like that, unfortunately. But you do get some opportunities to develop communication and academic skills. And then another additional thing that really makes, let's say, the PhD kind of generous is that you get some funding for travel and related costs over your research. So you can go to take courses in other universities in other countries, do research visit or attend conferences. They have quite a lot of resources in that sense comparatively to other countries. Not only from the university, let's say in Umeå, your PhD, you are already allocated an amount yearly to use for those kind of things. But there's other private funders that you can access, not only, let's say, locally, but nationally, that you can apply for travels, for the research stays to really help you pay for those, let's say, external collaborations that you do. So I would say that that is the main shock that I got when I did my PhD, is that how many resources they have, and how much you can do if you really are paying attention, let's say. And since I learned about it, I used everything I could. I applied to every funding possible and did so much during my PhD. So the resources that are available are quite generous comparatively to many other countries. And that's sort of like the biggest highlight. And since then, of course, I started focusing a lot on funding because of the amount of and diversity of funding that is available. And that
Okay.
is only accessible if you are in Sweden and if you're doing a PhD or if you already finished a PhD. You cannot apply for it being outside
Outside.
Sweden, just so you know.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. There's a question about the presentation. Will you share the presentation?
Yes, I will share
Oh,
it.
okay. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So, and here I will talk a bit about the research funding in Sweden. So, as I mentioned, there's a lot of different sources of funding for your PhD and after your PhD. Some are even accessible for your master's while you're doing your master's, so not before. But while you're doing it here and while you're based in Sweden, you have access to many of these funding resources. So
There's a question. Sorry, there's a question.
yeah.
What languages do I need to learn before coming to Sweden?
I think English in general will be the main one, but I will always encourage people to learn Swedish here when they are here, or maybe if you want to do it beforehand. It really opens up opportunities. It made a huge difference in my career when I learned Swedish while I was doing my master's, not only for work, but for opportunities to present my work or to connect with colleagues in Swedish speaking spaces. But English is the wide spoken language here.
Okay. Okay.
So besides the public funding from universities, from research councils and government agencies, there's a lot of private foundations. There's around 20,000 private foundations that, and like 30% of that contribute to research funding in all things. They're not all for the same area. They pay for different kind of projects or different kind of initiatives. But also, of course, the by being part of the EU, Sweden also accesses EU money, which also gives a lot of opportunities while you're PhD or doing your research, specifically for collaboration or mobility schemes, or international research projects. So I think I really want to highlight that that's one of the biggest things that makes a very big difference in Sweden: the accessibility, or not the, let's say, the diversity of funding schemes that are available. That doesn't mean that will cover your salary or that they will secure your future in Sweden unless you are granted a really, really big grant. But during your PhD and somewhat in your master's, you really do have access to funding that can enrich your experience of research or studies while you're here. And that's where I feel that there's a breach of information. Not even many researchers, senior researchers, know about all the funding schemes that are available. So that is sort of the main point of the PhD, I would say, the most highlight. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then career opportunities after graduation. I recently posted something that I think, again, when you think long term, it doesn't have to be 20 years, but at least 5 to 10 years, and you're deciding if you want to go to Sweden or to do a master's or do a PhD, it's good to check what kind of career opportunities can come afterwards. Of course, it is no secret to anyone that it is difficult to get a tenure position, a tenure track position at universities, and sometimes you have to stay many years as a postdoc, for example, or work in other things. Because it's difficult to find positions at university. There are less and less, and it's actually most of an exception to get a job at university. And that's a reality not only in Sweden, but everywhere else. So again, there are some programs that are really good at preparing their students in their masters and also in their PhDs for industry jobs or for state organization jobs. But some are really bad. So you can't really only rely on the information that they have or the career support that they offer. It's good to check the industries that are around the cities that you're living in, that you want to live in, or that are collaborating with the universities that you're planning to study at. But of course, there's a lot of opportunities in industry, in consulting, in startups, since it's so innovation based, for example, in Stockholm. The public sector, it's a really, let's say, underrated place to work, but also you need Swedish, so it requires a bit more commitment in that sense. But there's a lot of opportunities there, transferring from your masters or your PhDs. And then NGOs, it's also another option. And then after a PhD, of course, academia, research institute, let's say private ones, there's also possibilities there, and there's several ones here in Sweden. Perhaps a bit easier for the natural sciences and engineering to move towards theirs, but also in other areas. Then research and development departments, that is in industry. So they have researchers that help them solve problems. That's also, again, very technical, and I would say more in the natural and engineering. But there's opportunities to develop thinking in other places, in innovation and technology sectors and international organizations. So there are, of course, this is very general, but again, I think you have to search and plan a bit ahead and start early on. If you have an opportunity to do during your master's, for example, an internship, it's good to see what's around and what doors can open a bit easily through the university or through career support or through your profile, of course. Yes. So
It's quiet. There are no questions right now, so I guess we can continue.
no problem. And then the final takeaways again. So have a strategy and choose opportunities that fit your goals, but also your values and the life you want to live. I think that's really, really important. Consider all the possible avenues of that country, of that university, of that program, of that career. Of course, you make as and the decision as informed as you can at the moment, and things might change eventually, and that's totally fine. And also be kind to yourself when those changes come. But having a strategy really allows you to put the effort where it's needed, and then you also don't get as frustrated. Let's say if you write to 100 professors and nobody answers, instead of writing to three very strategically and saying exactly what you want, having a plan, having an idea that is clear, that really helps opening more doors. Sweden offers really excellent postgraduate education and funded research opportunities. I really think that that's the biggest thing. There's a lot of funding around, but you have to be here, let's say. So it's a good way to decide if, for example, a PhD or a research career is interesting. And then your postgraduate studies should support your long-term career and life plans. So again, all related to long-term and where you want to live, what you want to do, where would you like to work, where would you like to contribute. So I think that's the main thing. A clear strategy makes a huge difference and reduces a lot of frustration and also time in general.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a question. Most scholarship is requirements for masters GPA based or experience based?
I think you would have to check the Swedish Institute scholarship. I think what I know at least is that it does have to do a bit with GPA, but it has also to do with a lot of experience in leadership. So again, it has to do with the impact that you can do with the studies and with the scholarship further on. So, if you want to enter in general masters, also it doesn't depend on your GPA. It depends on a lot how you can contribute and you can use the studies for the best. Of course, if you are applying for very competitive programs, GPA normally is always a cut down. But I think it's not the only way to get in.
Okay. There's another one. Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay.
I cannot answer that question. I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if is this the last slide?
Yes, I think. Yeah, it was questions in general, and if you
Oh,
wanna
okay.
read them,
Because
yes.
I have a question. I think we didn't touch on the visas. You did mention that for masters you get a student visa, and for PhD it's a work visa. But I wanted to know if there are there requirements that applicants should know about for the visa. Like for example, sometimes you are required to have some funds and all those kind of stuffs. Are there
Yes.
any
So I don't want
requirements?
to be super general about that because many rules have changed this year for
Mm-hmm.
masters, also for PhD. So I don't want misinform, and I think now the website is, let's say, quite straightforward in media. I will also
Mm,
send the link for it, and you can read
okay.
all the changes and the new requirements. Um, I think if you do not have a scholarship, there's always a requirement, especially for masters. You have to have the funds to survive. You're also allowed to work, but they reduce the amount of hours that you're allowed to work during your masters as well. So you cannot rely on a job while doing your masters.
Okay.
Um, so I think it's better to read them all because they have changed a lot recently, and also some are pathway to long-term residence. Sometimes some are not. So better to check the migration website. I really think it's best to go to the source directly, and it's very clear and it's different in different languages. It's translated, so you can read it thoroughly. But I don't want to give misinform in that sense. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I don't know if you'd be able to answer this, but I just wanted to know if there's what is the biggest, or what is there a big difference between applying for PhD or masters in Sweden compared to other European countries? Is there a big difference, or it's just the same?
That's a really good question. I think, let's say, Sweden has gotten better at recruiting students from outside Sweden, and they have become more and more competitive for the masters, for example, but also for PhDs because of the benefits. I still think it's not as known as other countries, and since they don't have as many universities, then it's also reduces a bit the amount of students that they can take in. Um, But I think in general, it's more or less the same process for masters and PhD. I would say that the difference lies mostly in how the masters and PhDs are carried out. So the
Mhm.
way the studies are done, more than the process itself. I think in general, regarding the requirements and the visa application and everything, it's quite similar, more or less,
Okay,
with other countries. Yeah,
okay,
especially for people coming outside Europe. Yes.
okay. Um, are there any questions? I'll give you a few minutes, maybe less than 5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes to ask questions. Do you have any questions? This is your chance to ask questions. I've tried to ask questions for you, but it would be nice to have questions that are coming directly from you. Do you have any questions so far about masters, about PhD in Sweden?
One thing that I can say about the masters is that, again, unlike the PhDs, it's a centralized system. So that one, everyone applies their paperwork and everything. They select the universities that they want in order of priority. So you say which
Mm-hmm.
one is your top university. I think you can select three or four. So it's a very centralized system. It's very easy to follow and easy to know when and what you have to upload things. So it's very helpful, and that I appreciate of Sweden.
Oh,
Um,
so sorry. Also, for when you're applying for masters, you don't apply to
the
like
university there.
to different universities. You just apply like in the UK. What do you call it in the UK?
It's a
I forgot the
centralized
name.
system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like where you apply on a system and then you select universities you are interested in. Is that how
Yes.
it is?
Yes. It's called university admissions. That's how it's.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, in the UK it's called UCAS.
Ah,
You,
okay. Yes, you.
yeah,
Yes, it has a funny name.
UCAS. Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
now we have some questions. Does it mean that I can't apply for scholarship while I am in Botswana?
Uh, Again, so if it's for a master's and you're applying for the Swedish Institute scholarship, you can only apply if you're coming from outside Sweden. So yes, you can apply. But if you
Okay.
are applying for funding that has to do with projects or small funding that is from private or government funding for PhD and research, you can only apply if you're in Sweden.
Okay, and from my understanding, you correct me if I'm wrong. From my understanding, from what you have shared, if you are applying for masters, your best chance is the Swedish
Institute.
Institute scholarship. That's the scholarship you should be targeting. However, it's highly competitive,
Yes.
but that's the scholarship that is popular for masters programs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I can
All
send
right.
you. Here's the. Oh, sorry. So that's the. I will put the links anyway in the presentation.
In the presentation. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
But here,
Let me
all the
see.
information for masters are these two links. So the study in Sweden one, I think, is the most complete one. It's always updated. It's so nice to read. So many references from previous study students. Some that have the Swedish Institute scholarship, some that just came on their own. And then the other link is the Swedish Institute one, where you can read
No.
everything about the requirements, who have won it before, so you can also check the profiles of those persons. I think they also interview them. If you don't follow LinkedIn, then in LinkedIn they publish quite a bit, and many of the people who have won the scholarships and have gone back to their countries talk about their experience about applying, but also their experience in Sweden. So there's so much information there for masters, definitely.
Okay. There's a question here. I think I will address it. Yes, she shared about masters. Unfortunately, because of time, I don't think she can repeat the information. However, she said she will share the presentation. If you registered for the session, then you will receive the presentation, and you can find the information about masters. So 1 minute, and then I'm gonna close the session. Let's see what are the common reasons for international students get rejected.
For what? Like for masters or PhDs? I wouldn't say there's a general thing I could summarize why they rejected. I think in general is either they don't match the program, they don't have the full requirements, they don't have a project that is interesting. It really depends. So for the master, since it's a centralized system, it really cuts you on the requirements that the specific masters require. So I couldn't tell you specifically. There's people that are more ranked, better ranked than you. You get some points, and then you get ranked for that. If it's for the PhD, it really sometimes it's more rare, but it has to do like if they already have someone in mind. But if not, in general, it's just is there's no alignment of your project, of your profile. You don't understand perhaps the department or their interest, research interest, and things like that. So there's not a general one. It really depends on what you're doing and what you're applying for. I will answer also this pen paper. He asked the questions. I cannot tell you this. These are very specific questions. I think you have to look at the departments and you have to ask directly.
Yeah, I
As far
saw.
as I know, the some those certifications are usually not paid by the department. You would have to do it on your own. But I can. Those are very very specific program and area specific. So I don't have that information.
Okay. I'm gonna pick the last question. If I have a master, can I still apply for the same master's scholarship? Are you referring to the Swedish Institute scholarship?
I would suppose so. I think they don't question if you already have a master's. As long as you don't have a master's in Sweden or you haven't studied or lived in Sweden, I think it's totally fine. But again, you have to check the requirements for the department. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And yes, how many scholarships per country are awarded? They're not per country in general. It's in anyone outside Sweden.
Okay. 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 All right. I think I'm gonna close the session now.
Yes.
If you have any questions, I believe they can connect with you on LinkedIn. Is that okay?
Yes, that's totally fine.
Yeah, you can send her a connection request on LinkedIn, or you can also follow her because she shares a lot of information and a lot of opportunities on LinkedIn. So you just go and connect with her on LinkedIn, and I believe you'll be able to get access to the information that will be crucial or that will be helpful for your application. So I would like to thank you, Juanita. Thank you for agreeing to do this session. It was quite insightful for me. I will be honest with you, I didn't know about the Swedish Institute scholarship for masters. That was very interesting for me. I will have to go and look it up and read more and add it to my scholarship database.
Yes, that sounds like a
Yeah,
good idea. It's a really
yeah,
good one and really very generous one. Like it really gives you a lot, opens a lot of doors if you become a Swedish Institute scholar. So it's a good way to enter Sweden.
yeah. I will look into it. I'll read more about it, possibly do a video on it. So
Yeah.
maybe look out for that video. Any last words, Juanita? Anything else you would like to say?
Um, no, I just really want to emphasize that it's good to think and consider the different aspects that you want or that you need for a good life. So when deciding on a country or on a university or a program, consider all those possibilities. I think it's uh, the most important thing I want to give. So I work on Sweden, but I don't think Sweden is for everyone. It's good to know that depending on your profile and your pursuits, it can be perhaps another country or another place. So
Okay.
I hope the information was useful, and please reach out whenever you think it's you have questions. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I guess we can end the session now. Have a good night, and thank you to everyone who joined and interacted and asked questions. Thank you. Bye.